Ignacio Sánchez Mejías. On August 11, 1934, the Spanish matador Ignacio Sánchez Mejías stepped into the ring at Manzanares, a small town in Andalusia. At 43, Sánchez Mejías was past the age when most matadors retire. He was wealthy, cultured, a friend of poets and writers. Yet he longed to relive the glory of his youth, to hear the crowd roar for him one more time. Against the advice of his friends, he returned to the sand. That afternoon the sun was punishing, the stands full. His opponent was Granadino, a bull weighing nearly 500 kilograms. The first passes went smoothly. Sánchez Mejías moved with elegance, his cape flashing red against the dark hide of the animal. But as the fight wore on, his footwork slowed. Fatigue showed. At one critical moment, he attempted a close pass, brushing too near the horns. Granadino seized the chance. With a sudden lunge, the bull drove its right horn into the matador's thigh. The horn pierced deep, tearing flesh and muscle. The force lifted Sánchez Mejías off the ground and shook him violently before flinging him onto the sand. The crowd screamed, a wave of horror moving through the stands. Assistants rushed in, distracting the bull long enough to carry him out. His leg was bleeding heavily, the wound gaping. In the infirmary beneath the arena, doctors applied bandages but did not perform surgery. They believed the injury was survivable, and Sánchez Mejías himself refused to be transported immediately to a larger hospital in Madrid. For 2 days he lay in Manzanares, feverish and pale. The wound had become infected. The smell of rot filled the infirmary as gangrene set in. His body swelled. His pain grew unbearable. By the time doctors attempted surgery, it was too late. On August 13th, Sánchez Mejías died in agony. His death became legendary. He was not just a bullfighter, but also a symbol of Spain's golden age of literature. Poet Federico García Lorca wrote his famous elegy Llanto por Ignacio Sánchez Mejías. The Lament for Ignacio Sánchez Mejías, immortalizing the image of the matador who returned to the ring too late and paid with his life. José Cubero. On August 30th, 1985, tragedy struck in Colmenar Viejo near Madrid. José Cubero Sánchez, known as El Yillo, was just 21 years old. Handsome, charismatic, and already one of Spain's most promising young matadors, he had become the face of a new generation. The fight that day seemed routine. He was the star attraction, cheered by a crowd eager to see brilliance. The bull he faced was named Burlero. At first, everything went to plan. El Yillo executed clean, daring passes, moving with speed and confidence. The audience applauded his style, stamping their feet in approval. As the fight neared its end, he prepared for the estocada. The final sword thrust aimed at the bull's heart. He charged in, leaning over the horns to drive the blade, but the strike was imperfect. Burlero did not collapse. Instead, the bull twisted suddenly, lowering its head. In one brutal motion, the right horn drove upward into the young matador's chest. The horn pierced directly into his heart. El Yillo was lifted off the ground, impaled, before being thrown backward into the sand. He clutched his chest as blood poured through his suit of lights. Spectators screamed as assistants rushed in, dragging him from the ring. But the injury was instantly fatal. He died before reaching the infirmary. The shock was immense. Spain had seen many gory accidents in the ring, but the death of a 21-year-old star struck directly through the heart was almost too cruel. Photographs of his final moments, the bull twisting, the matador collapsing, circulated widely. For many Spaniards, the image of El Yillo lying lifeless on the sand became one of the most haunting in modern bullfighting history. Víctor Barrio. On July 9, 2016, Víctor Barrio, a 29-year-old matador from Segovia, faced a bull named Lorenzo in the ring at Teruel, a town in eastern Spain. It was a festival fight, the kind staged in dozens of Spanish towns each summer. The crowd filled the stands, families and children watching under the bright sun. Barrio was talented, but not yet a superstar. For him, this fight was a chance to move closer to national fame. He began confidently, performing several crisp passes, drawing cheers from the crowd. But Lorenzo was aggressive, quick to charge, his horns wide and sharp. In the third pass, Barrio attempted to bring the bull in close, brushing the cape against its shoulder. It was a fraction miscalculated. The bull swerved, lowered its head, and drove a horn straight into Barrio's chest. The point of the horn entered near his ribs, tearing through his lung and severing his aorta. The impact was devastating. Barrio collapsed immediately, blood flowing onto the sand in a widening pool. The crowd gasped, then fell into silence. Assistants dragged him from the arena as doctors fought to save him in the infirmary. But the wound was catastrophic. Within minutes, he was pronounced dead. What made his death even more shocking was that it unfolded live, broadcast on Spanish television. Millions saw the moment the horn struck, the young matador collapsing lifeless. Children in the stands cried, their parents holding them close as the scene turned from spectacle to horror. For the first time in over 3 decades, Spain had witnessed the death of a professional matador in the ring, in real time. Barrio's final fight became etched into Spanish memory as one of the darkest in modern bullfighting. Iván Fandiño. On June 17, 2017, Iván Fandiño, a 36-year-old matador from Bilbao, entered the ring at Ère-sur-la-Dour in southwestern France. Fandiño was a veteran, known for his courage and his willingness to face the most dangerous bulls. He had built a reputation as one of Spain's fiercest modern fighters, admired for his grit and his willingness to take risks others avoided. That day, he was matched against a bull weighing over half a ton. The fight began well. Fandiño executed clean passes, his cape flowing, his movements sharp. The crowd applauded, sensing control and mastery. Then, in a moment of miscalculation, disaster struck. As Fandiño maneuvered with his cape, he tripped. His foot caught on the fabric, and he stumbled, falling onto the sand. Before he could rise, the bull lunged. The horn drove into his side, ripping through his lung and puncturing his liver. Fandiño cried out in pain, his face twisted in agony, as assistants rushed in, pulling him away while distracting the bull. Blood streamed from his wound, soaking his ornate costume as he was carried to the infirmary. Doctors worked frantically, but his injuries were too severe. On the way to the hospital, he went into cardiac arrest and died in the ambulance. The scene was shocking, not only for its violence, but for its irony. Fandiño was killed not by a daring pass gone wrong, but by a stumble, his own cape tangling under his boots. A lifetime of facing bulls head-on had ended with a split-second accident, a reminder of how fragile survival is in the ring. His death was widely mourned in Spain and France, but it also fueled arguments that bullfighting was no longer acceptable in modern Europe. Fandiño's final fall, played on news broadcasts across the world, became another image of the sport's unrelenting danger.